Welcome to Wednesdays with Willa. I am your host, Willa White, and this is my weekly podcast show that airs on Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m. on my Facebook page, Willa White Medium. This is an opportunity for me to share various spiritual topics with you, and I typically have a special guest on the show, and we talk about spiritual topics having to do with either spiritualism, mediumship, healing, faith, family, or more. And I'm glad to have on the show today, Tom Cratsley. Thanks for being here today, Tom.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Tom, and also we'll be getting into our topic shortly, which is healing with the voice. But I also want to let people know I'm not on Blog Talk Radio today, just on my Facebook page. This will also get uploaded to the Lilydale Facebook page as well as my YouTube channel. So you have a lot of different places that you can tune into this particular show today. And there are other Lilydale shows that are running, so I encourage you to check those out. You can find those on the Lilydale Assembly Facebook page and with the individual mediums that are running those particular programs. This is year 4 for Wednesdays with Willa, and I always have a lot of fun with my guests. I encourage you to look back at the archived videos of the show. And Tom has been a guest on the show before. We've talked about Andrew Jackson Davis. We've talked about healing. We've talked about all kinds of wonderful topics. And I'm excited to talk about the topic we have today. For those of you who don't know who Tom Cratsley is, he is a spiritual healer and a teacher of healing. He's also a resident here in Lilydale, and he will be teaching some classes for Lilydale this summer. We'll tell you a bit more about that a little bit later on in the show today. So thanks for being here today, Tom. We're going to talk about the healing with the voice, which is something that I know is very important in terms of your own healing modalities. And it's another way, another technique for people to access healing in their lives. So let's share with them about that today.
Good. Well, I can start by talking a little bit about how it came to me, because basically my spiritual guidance bludgeoned me into it. It wasn't something I ever wanted to do. I can barely carry a tune in a basket, right? And so this would have been, and it's been a long time that I've been using toning and voice for spiritual healing. But in the early 80s, I used to do a lot of experimentation with friends of mine. We do various kinds of healing exercises and whatnot. And for about a solid month, it's what I've been working with people, and sometimes even working with people who I weren't close friends. I would get the spiritual impression while I'm doing hands-on, make a sound. And my response to that was, you make a sound to my spirit guides. All right.
You batted it back at them. You were like,
I said, you've got the wrong guy. You've got the wrong guy. Absolutely the wrong guy. Try somewhere else. But they pestered me, and they kept pestering me. So finally, on one day I'm working with a friend of mine. And in working with a friend, I had the latitude to be able to tell them, they're asking me to do something. Do you mind? It's like I'm gonna.
You're preparing them.
And so I'm preparing, for the mistake.
Yes.
So anyway, so I open my mouth and just start to let the sound come out while I'm doing the healing. And lo and behold, it's making a difference. I'm going, oh, wait, okay. All right, well, you got that one, but, maybe it worked this one time, but, So anyway, over a period of I would say about 6 months, learning to kind of get that connection right and understanding how I could really just release my voice to spiritual guidance. That's the same as I release my hands to spiritual guidance when I'm doing hands-on healing, right? So it took me some time to do that. And as I started to do that, it became a a modality that I would use actually quite frequently, not all the time, and certainly the Lilydale Healing Temple is someplace I heal all the time. It is not appropriate there. You could not do that, in that setting, or in a church, in a spiritualist church where we do healing every service. So there are places that are just absolutely not appropriate.
But
So
in a private healing setting, things are a bit different.
But what I
Because
do,
it's a personal toning for
Yes.
that person. Mhm.
right. But I have noticed that there are times when I'm doing it even in the temple or in a church setting where the thought of the sound comes to my mind and I'm sort of mentally projecting the sound, which is an interesting proposition.
Because that's about
So
you getting into the frequency of it then.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So if you're mentally projecting the sound rather than, making it physically. And, not as effective, but it does seem to have some measure of influence.
I can tell you why. Tom, I can tell you why.
Yeah.
So I've been studying some of the somatic understandings of things. And
Yeah.
when you think a word, it actually can make a picture, but the muscles in your mouth actually vibrate, even though you're not making a sound. They vibrate as if you had said it.
Yes.
So that's why you would get that vibrational frequency of it, because the intention was there, and it did happen at the base of your tongue. Those.
Oh, I do. Yes. It's kind of like an identifier, if you will. It's like, that the very first thing, that Adam was asked to do in the Bible, name things, right?
Yes.
Now, here's the interesting thing. That's a sound process. So he has to name, but in naming something, his job, and it's a very serious job, he has to actually identify in his consciousness the precise frequency that represents that thing. Right?
Yes.
And so those names, those fundamental names, excite the energy with the named, that which is named. Mm-hmm. That's why people respond to their names, right? It's like we respond to our names. It's like, oh, yeah. But it was even more precise thinking about that in that day. The animals and so on, and the plants, etc. All of them had precise frequency features to them, which is very interesting to me, and that says a lot about why the throat, why the voice is I'm saying a higher octave of the solar plexus. It's a power. It is how we broadcast our personal power into the world. And so in that, learning how to adjust to not only the things you're naming, but the sentiment that you want to carry forth in all your communication. That's how we, and also we subtly recognize this stuff as we're listening to people without even knowing it. We subtly recognize that something's being communicated here that isn't even in word, It's
energetic.
Frequency.
It's energetic.
It's energetic.
Connection.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So it's that. So anyway, so over time, I've enjoyed utilizing this process of just surrendering my voice box, if you will, to spiritual guidance. Now, the one thing I also want to mention this is that, it's easy for people to understand this from a certain perspective, and that is listening to artists, listening to musicians, right? We can listen to somebody who's highly proficient at their craft, right? That they're very good at what they do in terms of the form of it. And we can also listen, sometimes we'll listen to somebody whose form may not be as sophisticated, but they're truly inspired as an artist. Who do we choose to listen to most of the time? We choose to listen to those people who are inspired. Now, often there's the two come together, but not always. Right?
Yeah,
Not
it's
always.
an interesting observation. Yes, yes.
Right.
The authenticity of that moment. It's like the difference between an acoustic guitar,
right,
and one that's plugged in.
Yeah. Yeah. In this case, we're talking about being plugged into spirit, being plugged into that spiritual force. And we recognize that. We notice that when that's happening, that there's something beyond our capacity to describe that's taking place. That's really the spiritual domain, the spiritual essence of things. So as we're when I teach this and I talk to people about it, it's like it's very easy to get caught up in the sound. And if you do that, you're getting distracted from the real essence of what's happening, and that is the spiritual intention. So you let the sound happen, but you maintain your focus on the spiritual energy and the spiritual intention.
And this goes beyond someone just wanting to say Om. It's not that kind of thing.
Exactly. So here you brought up something perfect here, and so ages upon ages, monks from all disciplines have sat and chanted. Right now, what happens is the chanting. The reason they do that is it does, when done appropriately and when there's a spiritual intention behind it, it does align them to a spiritual energy because of the intention behind it. So they're doing this, and then the sound then, as it becomes aligned, serves them. The sound serves them only because of the alignment with spiritual energy. It's different. It's, let's say if you had somebody who was just a hack who wasn't taking the time to align themselves and just saying, as you said, Om, Om, oh my God, Om, Om, that's not going to take them anywhere.
Right. It's fun to make fun of it, isn't it?
Sure. And it's another thing that's missing in spirituality. It's like the playfulness. That's the second chakra. It's there. And it's like, and then people forget about it. It's like everything has to be so sacrosanct and just like serious. It's like, give me a break. What kind of God wants to torture people with that all the time? It's like, no, it's not meant to be. That's why there's a teacher out there now, and he teaches a breathing work. His name is Wim Hof. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Oh, yes, I love Wim Hof. He's awesome.
Yeah, and the reason I love him so much is because he's a down-to-earth guy, and he says, look, life is meant for people to live and be happy, period. Very simple, and it's also very spiritual.
Yes.
It's like all the crazy stuff that we bring ourselves to focus on doesn't really amount to much at all. It's like there's so much of life is fantasy.
It is. What we think we know about something, what we think about other people, and what we think about ourselves.
Exactly. It's all.
And especially that illusion we have possibly about the divine.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That separates us from the infinite.
Yeah. which is always, and that's the one thing. And here's the thing about, I'll get back to the healing thing
Yeah,
now.
let's get back to healing.
And that is that when the philosophy of the healer is ultimately, I think, the most important element here. And the philosophy should be really simple, and that is that the source of healing is infinite and ever present. And if we accept that, then we know that something is working on behalf of whoever it is that you're focusing on. They may not be aware of it, and you're seeking to be aware of it, right? As the healer, that's your job. I'm being open. It's like, I know you're working for this person. I know you want to bring healing to this person. I just am opening myself to be aware of that healing.
And to be witness to it.
Be witness, exactly. And
yes.
That's a powerful word, witness.
Yeah.
So you're witness to that. And by being a witness to that, what happens is there's a resonance process that takes place. So you become aligned to the frequency that is very helpful and supportive and healing to that person. And it amplifies the frequency. And the likelihood that they're going to start listening more to their soul's voice and the guidance that's coming through to bring them healing, And I think that's that's the way it all works. And if we allow ourselves, that blessing, because it's really a blessing for everybody, right? If we allow ourselves to be present with that blessing, then magic happens.
Absolutely. That's where magic happens.
Yeah.
And
it's so bloody simple. Yeah.
Look at you being all British. All British all of a sudden.
Yeah.
but it is simple.
It was 15 years of playing rugby that got me that. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So let's talk to them about that understanding of healing with the voice and when you are using toning, because there is such a healing technique as toning, and you're using that in conjunction with your regular healing modalities. But with toning, there is a specialized kind of hum that occurs.
It can't. Well, now there are prescribed tones, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I don't work at that level. The way I try to work is for people to experience resonance. So for instance, if you're going to make a sound that you want to impact your chest, for instance, you're going to make that. I have read books and sat in classes where the teacher says, make this sound and it's going to work for this part of your body. It doesn't always work that way. All of our bodies are created slightly differently. So it's up to each individual to discover those resonances. It's like, so you make a sound. So I'll start. I'm going to make a sound from my chest, right? It may take me a minute to kind of to get the right resonance, but I'll make a sound and see it. That's my chest. That's not necessarily anybody else's chest. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's some but that's mine. And now for you, Willa, what you do is you put your attention in your chest, and then you just, with that there, you just like ask that you start to make sounds. And when you feel a corresponding vibration in your chest, then you're in a resonance. Otherwise, you're just playing games with your voice, a sound. Okay, so other games did not.
So you're saying to breathe or hum the sound into the chest.
Yeah.
So I would go. And I can feel that almost like the strum.
Right. Now, for instance, if I want to do something if I want to do my head or my third eye, that's something completely different. I mean, it'd be like this.
Whoa, that is so different.
Yeah.
So that was in through here.
Could you could feel that yourself? Yeah.
Yeah, you went way up comparatively to from here to there, and you could feel that.
Yeah.
And then you did the little like a chin thing.
Yeah, and some of that is that once I'm focused on where I want to go, the rest of it is sort of plays. You know, I'm not consciously trying to do that. It's like so yeah, so the different. So you're asking now. There were some, you'll see it in books. If you make this sound, that's good for this chakra. You make that sound, they give you ah, ee, ah, all they give you the different vowel sounds, and they're supposed to be for the chakras. Sure. I think that's a waste of time. Because you can go direct, by just holding your awareness in the part of the body that you want to be effective, and then let the register of your voice be manipulated until you feel stimulation there, until you feel a vibratory impact.
So you would say that there are certain ranges of frequency for the chakras, right? There are certain ranges of frequencies that suit many people. And that to find your particular range of sound with toning would take some practice if you wanted to apply them as a self-healing technique for yourself.
Right. And then you can do it for, like a specific ailment. If you want, let's say your shoulder is out or something, then you would, try to direct it to that specific area of the body. But it requires that you get into a as much of a relaxed state as you can, given that you're in pain, right? These are sometimes it's very tricky healing yourself, because of what your capacity is to get into that relaxed state while enduring pain, while suffering. So to the degree that you can do that, you'll be able to find a frequency that resonates to that part of the body, bringing in healing. Yeah.
Just as a side note, because it's something that's coming up in my consciousness at this moment, some people think that when, let's say, you hurt yourself or you stub your toe or something like that, and you scream, that it's actually very good to let that out so that it doesn't stay stuck in the body, the vibration.
Not a bad idea. I don't, that sounds interesting to me. That makes some sense. I know that I've been present with people who have had immediate injuries, like they twist a knee or an ankle. You can actually many times just eliminate it instantly by letting the part of the body know that's it, gone, take it out, take it away. You don't have to hold this, boom, and the body responds. I've seen that numerous times. So used to do it on the rugby field.
Sometimes,
guys would twist their ankle or twist their knee, and I go and I like immediately do hands on, and it's like, and then I'd have them imagine that they're feeling light coming down. A lot of times guys get half knocked out, right? And then you bring light through them, and they're right back.
So you're saying that when they're on the field and they're doing that and they're busy going, ah, and then you come up to them, right, and it transmutes the energy. And what do you notice that there's a sound that comes from you? What I'm doing is
I'm asking the part of the body to forget the injury.
Wow, interesting.
And return to normal, and it will, and 9 times out of 10 it'll do that.
Do you make a sound when you do this?
No.
Okay.
And when I've done that, no,
Okay.
that's a different procedure, but it's like amazing to watch it. It's like, but it's like you have to be right there, right, whereas it's happening. That you can help to bring it back so that it's like so that the injury memory doesn't set in.
So it's
So
like,
instantly the body heals
so
itself because the injury memory doesn't set in. Because the
so
memory that
you're
keeps
hitting
things,
like the erase button. You're like, erase
yeah,
that.
yeah,
It didn't happen.
right.
Boom.
Well, no, it's not that it didn't happen. It's that the healing is allowed to be instantaneous because it doesn't have to remember it.
Okay. Which is, it's a very important thing to allow us to forget things. Our bodies do
Yeah,
need to forget certain pain things that have gone
yeah,
on in it.
and right, and that's one of the biggest problems with chronic pain is that we have an expectation of pain.
Mhm. Mhm. That's true.
Literally becomes a part of you.
And people become very flinchy because they think, oh, get
Yeah.
ready, it's about to hurt.
Exactly. It's going to come back. It's like it was there. It's like I've had to deal with this. It's there. And it's a tricky thing because have you ever had chronic pain for anything?
I did have that, and I was able to transcend out of it. I
Yeah.
had some specific techniques that I used for it,
Right.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
But that's the
yeah,
hardest part of it. It's like making getting um um bypassing the memory. It's like the expectation that it's always going to be there. That it's yeah.
right. You have to retrain yourself and be
Yeah.
stronger in a certain kind of way. But
Right.
back to this understanding of healing with the voice.
Voice. Right.
When we're working in that, would you say that it's a bit like going into a light trance mode and allowing that vibration to sweep over you in that moment,
Sure. Sure.
like an inspirational, like inspirational speaking, but this would be an
Right.
inspirational toning.
Exactly.
All right,
So what
that
happens is,
occurs.
yeah. And so um, basically what I do is I just relax my jaw and and my breathing. And as I'm focusing on the subject, whoever it is, um, I ask that I'm linked. This is my fundamental healing prayer is I ask that I be linked to the higher self of the person that I'm working with, the blueprint for their well-being, which everyone carries with them, and divine guidance, such that all that's offered in this healing be for their highest and best. Right. So whatever, if I'm using my hands or if I'm using my voice, it doesn't matter. It's like, okay. And then usually I'm often using both anyway. So it's like because my hands were the first part of me to learn the process. So so now so then both are activated and I'm feeling it. And then I just wait for the impulse to make a sound that I know is going to be supportive of the person I'm working with, and then it comes out, and then it will shift and vary itself in however it's needed. It's just the same way that it happens when you're doing hands-on healing. You might start seeing a different color. You might feel a different measure of frequency, if you will. It might go from magnetic to electrical. It might go, they're all different sensations and forms of energetic, impulse that you feel, right? And so, and that will come and go and shift in accordance to whatever is useful and needed for that person. It's exciting, that kind of stuff is the witness. That's being the witness. You're watching. Okay, all right. What's next, guys? Okay, right. And so so you're playing the game along with it, and it's exciting. It's fun. The same thing happens with the voice. So it starts to shift and change yeah, that's simple. Yeah.
So I think a big takeaway for people who are wanting to maybe apply this themselves at home is they don't have to be supreme singers. You don't have to be opera singers and be able to sing Handel's Messiah. What you
Well,
want to do
if you
is
did, I wouldn't be doing this.
you could just be you.
Yeah.
And you can allow that toning to be of a healing nature
Yeah.
because of the intention
Right.
associated with it. So you have the energy of Handel's Messiah that is
Yeah.
running through you during those times. And it may not always, some of those tones may not always sound melodious, but they may produce
That's true. Yeah.
healing regardless.
What I've noticed though is if I'm doing this in a class where, I might have a person as an example, I might do some healing tones for them. Other people in the class feel it, and they feel it in the similar parts of their bodies, right? And so there's an extent to which it hits on a larger healing vibration as well as the focused piece for the individual.
Could you do a tone for lower in the abdomen just so people can hear the range? Because you did
Okay.
the one.
Well,
for
why
the
don't you give me an
chest.
example of something? You have a place where you've had tension or something that you want, that you would like some personal support with?
I don't know. I just thought it'd be good to give a range because we did chest, did third eye. I thought if you could do something for the abdomen, you could do root or
Yeah.
sacral chakra area for people,
Okay. All right.
or I just focus on the pelvis, maybe. I don't.
Okay. All right. Mm. It's very low, so I don't know if it comes across.
And sometimes Zoom or Facebook will change the auditory of that, but I think people can feel the difference in the tone in the notes that you're choosing to harmonize with for that lower space. You're right. You were up high here and you were down low like that.
Right, and the reason it in this particular case, I was focused on it in my own body. So, I didn't have something to project on, to focus on, other than my own body. So I felt the stimulation, the vibration in my own pelvic area. Yeah. The lower torso. Yeah.
Right. And so people can see there's a frequency change, a tone change that they
Sure.
will then want to apply for themselves in their body and in their energetic body as well.
Now, sometimes the sounds that come out are almost like shrieky. They're and you recognize that they're intended to break something up.
Yeah.
It's weird, but I don't like making them. It doesn't feel comfortable making them sometimes, but it's what's called for, because you do it because it's what's called for.
Sometimes they need a little extra karate chop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
to break the energy. Yeah,
it helps. Now, if I'm doing it without the sound, often it feels like there are these kind of lightning electrical impulses that are going in to break things up. But it's interesting with the sound when they use the sound energy to do in conjunction with that electrical stuff.
Well, it really is. It's so fascinating to think about how you can use sound and use your voice, and even if it doesn't sound pretty, how it can change and modulate energy. And that with some sounds that are pretty, they may not be as effective,
Yeah.
but they can be soothing afterward, possibly, right?
Yeah. Well, there've been some studies that just humming alone, just humming, actually influences hormones in the body.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it
Yeah. And
does.
so,
I'm
yeah.
fascinated with it because it lowers, they say it lowers blood pressure, it releases melatonin, nitric oxide, releases
Yeah.
endorphins and oxytocin, and
Yeah.
all of those great things.
Yeah.
So just humming, not even
Just
doing
humming.
the purposeful toning into an area, but just humming.
Right. Well, and even if you just started out with the humming, you could have your humming vary itself. So there are various tones with humming you can play with, but the important thing with humming is it's teaching you how to stay relaxed while making sound, and that's because if you're doing just that, it's a benefit to you.
One of my children who is very musical, mind you, when he was younger, whenever he would eat, he would hum. He'd be he would just
Oh,
be like in that kind of space. And I think we all need to get into that delicious humming happy
yeah,
state. It does help to heal the
yeah.
mind, the body, the spirit, and those connections.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the great benefits of music too, in general. It's like people, we have favorite songs that even if we don't make a sound, we're kind of humming it in our heads, right?
That's
With
right.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. One of the things that I did, I was studying a bit with Jonathan Goldman, who really does a lot with sound healing and resonance, and he uses tuning forks and things like that. And he really understands how sound healing works. And he uses words like vibroacoustic, and he'll use words like, he talks about humming in terms of being that conscious humming, that sacred vibration. And
yeah,
just before the show today, you were reminding me of Bible and how God created the
right.
world with a
In the
word.
beginning was the word,
Yes,
right? Yeah. So,
yes.
and which is interesting in that, and it's not just the Christian religion; it's many of the religions that predated Christianity, the Sumerians and so on. That was the origin of the universe was sound. All right, not light. Light comes after sound, which is kind of fascinating and interesting. Yeah,
Absolutely. And it's
yeah,
through the simplest
yeah.
of sounds that the most profound healing can happen.
Right. Of course, you've got the notion of the Big Bang, which is certainly sound.
Yes. Bang.
Bang, right.
It's so funny, Tom, because as we're sitting here, I see on your shirt the little Nike swoosh, and it's right over your throat. And it's and the throat chakra having so much to do with self-expression and that understanding of just do it. Just swoosh, just
Yeah,
say it.
just
Just
say it, just
hum
do
it,
it.
just
Yeah,
tone it, just be in
yeah,
that conscious alignment with your words, in the healing that can happen with your sound of yourself.
yeah. And what's interesting, right now we're in a crazy state on the planet. But we're not using our voices like we usually do. We're not doing the same level or style. In fact, it's hidden behind masks, number one.
Yes. Yes, Tom.
And so so there's so much of us that are that's being thwarted and hidden uh,
And muffled.
and muffled. Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's um, so all of this is it's a learning. We're having to learn about it. Um, I'm um, I'm really hopeful that as we come out of this, that the time that people have had to be internal and to examine what's important and meaningful to them, that when we come out of this, that there's going to be enormous enlightenment, that people will say, you know, what I thought was important isn't important anymore. You know, that's my hope, that this is that's what's behind all this, and that there's going to be enough of that awareness that's brought out out of hiding, if you will, so that we really change who we are as a species and how we treat one another, how we treat the environment, how we treat the planet.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting how everything ties in. Everything ties into this. Yeah.
Yes, well, because it's that macrocosm, microcosm situation that goes on, and people who maybe are not modulating their voices, people think that they need to be angry in order to be heard.
Yeah.
It's such an interesting thing. And that when you really think about the people that you're more likely to listen to, they actually speak quietly and choose their words.
Mm-hmm. And they're right. There's a clarity.
Yeah.
There's a clarity in the communication. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's the directness, and so for some people, they may have thought of this as being an enforced silent retreat, like this idea of, you know, people pay money to go to retreat so they cannot talk and not use their voice, so that they can come out of it and really have it mean something on a deeper level, so that they don't just rattle, that they choose, that we have a decision on how we're going to use our voice and how we can use that for healing purposes, those healing words. And we do have, I think it goes back to the intention, you know, when we started at the beginning, that understanding the intention behind the word, behind the healing. And that when you're, for example, working with people in that healing modality, the hands-on healing, the energetic healing, that tonal healing, the humming that goes along with it, it all works together as in a symbiotic way, so that all tools that are at your disposal are utilized as needed in a customized situation with that individual. Correct?
Yep. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Exactly.
What other things do you want to share about healing? I know you have a class we should mention before we go any further that you do have a class you'll be teaching this summer. I think it's August 21st, right?
Right. That's the Find Your Healing Voice, and it's all about learning how to align yourself spiritually with your voice box, so that you can generate healing tones to be useful for yourself and others, you know. Yeah. And so that's a day long. I'm also teaching Healing Mastery, which is kind of an overview of a lot of different healing techniques, but primarily it's learning how to deepen your connection with the spiritual realm for the purpose of healing, right? There are a number of different, you know, we deal with chakras and different multidimensional sensitivity and all that kind of stuff, but there's nothing that can replace that simplicity. You know, it's nice that we expand our capacity to sense and feel different things, but without that simple direct connection, the rest of it is playing with yourself sort of thing. You know, it's not
right. You need to have other people that you can practice this on, so you can understand how energy works in a more full way. The dynamics of internal healing are very different from external extensional healing that goes on.
Right. And also we do some good remote. I mean, some of the most powerful experiences I've ever had in healing are in remote healing, you know. And that's one of the things I haven't really done, is I haven't attempted to do, other than maybe something like, you know, if I were to, you know, make a sound and project it now in this format. I haven't ever done sound work when I'm in a, let's say, a small group, or I'm doing it myself, and I'm linking with somebody at a distance to send healing, it's never come to me to actually make sounds, doing that. But some of the most powerful results I've gotten, and seen in healing had been through distant healings, almost amazing. Now, let me give you an example.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, back in oh my God, this goes way, way back. I was invited to do a meditation, to lead a meditation with a spiritualist group in Fort Erie, Ontario. So I went up there, and on that particular day, um, one of the members of that group had been involved in an auto accident, was very seriously injured in a hospital bed. And I was asked, could I weave in to the meditation some healing, focus on healing for this individual? So we did. And it felt very good. I mean, I could feel the wonderful amplification of love and healing energy from the group that she had been a part of for a significant period of time. And I always feel that something good has happened, and you never know what, until it maybe later get some confirmation. So about a month later, um, one of the members of that group was in Lilydale and came up to me and said, "Oh, that meditation we did, that healing, you know what happened?" It was like, "Oh," I said, "No, I don't know." Well, when she, at the very same time that we were focusing on her, she saw this intense green light come into the room and come over her. She was expected to be in that hospital for 2 weeks. She left the next day. She wasn't completely healed, but she was that much better, and it was, in a sense, almost miraculous. But not
Yes.
only that, the woman in the bed next to her, they were waiting for her. They were expecting her to die. She got up the next day and went to Florida for vacation. So, like,
Oh,
it
I'm taking
affected
a vacation from my death.
so it affected them. It affected the person there. So, for
Oh,
me, this is a wonderful example of um, spiritual forces taking whatever avenue is they can to amplify something. And there's something powerful about us in the spirit, in the physical realm, linking with the spiritual, that amplifies things, right? It's because they do not exist at this frequency level. And because we do, we can create resonances that they cannot do on their own.
mhm, mhm.
That's the magic of our involvement, if you will, with spiritual healing.
I think that's a wonderful example and explanation of how that can work in such profound ways, that when we gather with that intention, when we set that intention together,
Yeah.
healing happens on levels that we're not even aware of, and that
Yeah.
reverberate. Again, vibration has that understanding of reverberating, that ripple effect that can go outward in ways
Yeah.
that we don't perceive immediately, that take time to show up.
Here's another example. We were doing a focus group, distant healing group, and one of the members of the group asked that his son be put into the circle for healing. And this son, his problem was that he was seriously addicted to drugs, and he had burned all his bridges. Borrowed from this person and that person, and they knew not to trust him. It's like all that. It was at the end, and was seriously depressed. Really at the end of his ropes. And so we focused on him, and as we invited him into the circle, it felt like he was like in another universe. Like we were reaching out, with this love, but it's like he was so distant. And what occurred to us in the circle, that we became aware of his mother and spirit, right? So as we became aware of his mother and spirit, we also became aware of her love for him. and we attempted to amplify that. And as we amplified that, he came in, we could feel him coming closer and coming into the circle and begin to accept the healing that he was not, could not avail himself to before that. Probably, like self-esteem issues and all the kinds of stuff that bottle up in somebody in that situation. But anyway, because of the mother's love and the amplification of that, he could now accept the greater love of the divine and the circle. And so it turns out that a week later he checked himself into long-term rehab. That he got, yeah.
It is an interesting how sometimes things have to be done on those energetic levels that are actually unspoken,
Yeah,
but happen on an energetic level that creates a whole tone of reverberation in another person. It just shows you how profound that can be. I see a question from someone about animals, and if you have had any experiences with animals and toning sound.
no, I haven't. As a matter of fact, I have to plead ignorance on that one.
Well, I'm sure that it is possible. I mean, it's possible to do that with humans. It would be possible to do that with animals.
I think it probably would be if you're in the right circumstance. I know that animals find, depending on the species, certain sounds very annoying to them. Like dogs, right? High pitch frequency they don't like, and yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think it depends on the animal. I know I was reading that dolphins, they can go up to 100, I think it was 180,000 hertz.
We can't even hear
it. Right. It's like, it's
Yeah.
amazing what they would be able to endure and what would promote healing in them compared to humans.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, and then there are other frequencies that the migratory animals, hear, that we have no connection to yet. Yeah.
At least
we
not
might
in
have
a,
at one
in a
point.
known way.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible that humanity had some of that at one point, but it's not part of our makeup now.
Right. It's not something that we culturally would understand at this particular time, mostly. Yeah. But what I find so interesting about healing with the voice in your particular technique, I appreciate you sharing that with us today, because I think it'll give people another realm of understanding about their healing, and possibly something that if they are a spiritual healer, they would want to put into their toolbox. And it's great knowing that they can connect with you. They can mark their calendars for August 21st in particular if they want to do the and
in early July. I mean, you can check with Lilydale, the Lilydale Assembly calendar. Early July, well, maybe the second week of July, something like that. And it's a week long. It's from Sunday through Friday. And it's like I think there's like nine sessions altogether. And they're like, what I like about that class in particular is that it's broken up so that you have integration time between. It's like, I find sometimes if your learning is overly intense, you don't have time to integrate. It's like, you got so much stuff shoved at you at once, and then all of a sudden so it's also developmental. So we start out focusing on one area like the heart and understanding the ultimate importance of knowing your heart and your capacity to connect with divine love. And it only comes through your heart. It doesn't come through your head. But we're learning processes how to do that and make that link and make that connection for the healing. And then it just goes, each segment takes you a little bit further.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to have those kind of sequential learning experiences,
Yeah,
especially like as you said, if you want to integrate these.
yeah,
It's beautiful, beautiful.
yeah. It's the integration that I think it's really important. But it can happen very quickly, and it's my favorite class to teach. I find it's transformational every summer when I do it, and I always get that those responses from the students. It's like it was life altering experiences.
Beautiful,
Um,
beautiful.
yeah, yeah,
I'm not surprised. I know you've been teaching that particular healing mastery class for years. So I do encourage people to take a look at the Lilydale Assembly website. Probably within the next month or so, they'll have things posted so that people can start registering for the classes. But just for now, they can make a note on their calendar so that they can make it happen in their own lives.
yeah.
I think it's great.
And then, in the meantime, let's, keep it in all of our minds to try to align with what Mother Earth wants for the planet.
Mhm.
Um, I do believe that, our planet is a conscious being, and that um, we're servants to that. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to serve harmony, the harmony of all life on this in this world, and the earth that we've forgotten as a species. We've forgotten our fundamental connection to that, and that needs to be revived. And so and that's what I would recommend for everybody to start thinking about that. It's like, and to accept from Mother Earth the blessing that she has in guiding us, as well as the guidance we're getting um, from the infinite, right? But there's a special guidance that comes from Mother Earth about life here, and what we're destined to know and experience and serve from the point of view of being an earthling, of
Yes,
being a
yes.
human being in harmony with the rest of life on this planet.
It's such a good
Uh,
point. I just got done teaching a chakra class, and I wanted to reinforce that it wasn't just connecting with the divine. That is an important aspect of your energetic system, but it's also that grounding with Mother Earth, that
yeah.
grounding and centering that takes us to the very core of the earth and core of ourselves. That's
Yes.
necessary because we don't want to be too woo-woo. You don't want to go too into the
Yes.
woo-woo world, and that can happen for people, and we have to certainly be living in this world and bring that understanding of the spiritual to it, because we are ultimately a soul that has a body, and that we're experiencing the world in that particular way. So I appreciate you mentioning about that. I should mention, in terms of integration, I've got another class coming up. For the month of March, I'll be doing a mediumship development circle. And just like Tom said, how you need to have that time between sessions, it helps you to integrate so that eventually you understand things on a more deep level. So because it's done weekly, they have an opportunity to mind, body, spirit align for that purpose once a
Good.
week,
Yeah.
and then be, allowing that spiritual alteration. There's almost like a chemistry situation that starts to happen with people to do the higher vibrational work. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
so I'm really excited about that particular class. And before I forget, next this coming Monday, I have How to Gain Awareness of Your Inner Guide, which is an online class. You're welcome to sign up for that on my website, which is willawhite.com. And next week, I have as my guest Shannon Taggart. We're going to be talking about Hilma Off Clint, who was a spirit communicator and an artist. And I want you to see what the connection between spirit communication and the birth of abstract art have to do with each other. It's going to be a wonderful show. I can't wait. I get so excited
No,
every
good.
week about all the different guests and the
Sure.
different topics we do. And I really appreciate you being on the show today, Tom. It's
Could
been
I
wonderful.
close out with some
Oh,
tones
please.
on the spiritual
Yes.
heart? and
Yes,
and and
please.
and Mother Earth and the spiritual heart. Okay.
I love it. Let's do it.
All right. Good. Okay.
Ooh, yeah. Oh my goodness. I keep thinking you probably have a Native American guide that helped you too.
People see in and out different things. Sometimes it's
Yeah,
Native American.
yeah.
Sometimes it's, actually, I have had a vision of Egyptian
Oh, that's interesting
going all the
too.
way back to
Yes.
ancient Egypt. Yeah. The
Wow.
Egyptian god. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that was beautiful. I'm glad that you were able to share with them. I wish we had even more time so you could do the whole thing, but then they really just have to go to your class. They just
Yeah.
have to go to your class and they can get the full gamut of understanding and feeling and sitting in the tone of that, in the
Yeah. Yeah.
healing tone of that. So beautiful. Ah, what a way to close out our show today. Thank you so much, Tom. You're always a wonderful guest. I
Thank you.
appreciate you so much. All right,
Thanks.
everyone. Have a wonderful day. And I'll see you next week on Wednesdays with Willa. God bless.